wanted to make a video showing some of my recent footage I got from my travels, of some pretty forests and garden scenery. I've also been starting to work on Forest of Secrets Episode 7, so I thought it'd be kind of fun to read the page numbers from Forest of Secrets that inspired Episode 7. So when it comes out in a few weeks, you guys can compare and be up to speed on what's happening. If you'd like, you can check out a link down below in the description to download some of the photos that I took. These are great to use for backgrounds for sets you might set up for filming, and they make really pretty backdrops to set up for your custom. So if you're interested in downloading that, check it out down below. Now without further ado, let me start reading. I'll be reading from pages 78, A Forest of Secrets, to page 90. So if you guys remember in the last episode, Fireheart was talking to Bluestar and she basically kicked him out of her den and didn't want to hear anything about Tigerclaw. And she was specifically really upset about him talking about these missing kids from ThunderClan. Confused and unhappy, Fireheart made for the warrior's den. Before he reached it, he hesitated. He did not want to risk meeting Tigerclaw, and he wasn't in the mood for sharing tongues with his friends. Instead, almost unconsciously, he headed for the tunnel of ferns that led to Yellowfang's den. Cinderpaw limped out and almost collided with him. Fireheart fell back on his haunches with a thump, and Cinderpaw skidded to a halt, spraying him with snow. "Sorry, Fireheart," she puffed. "I didn't see you there." Fireheart shook the snow off his coat. His heart suddenly felt lighter at the sight of Cinderpaw, her blue eyes sparkling with mischief and fur sticking out in all directions. This was how she used to look when she was his apprentice. For a while, after the accident, Fireheart had been afraid that this Cinderpaw had vanished forever. "What's the hurry?" he asked. "I'm going out to look for herbs for Yellowfang," Cinderpaw explained. "So many cats have been ill, what with all this snow, that her stocks are getting very low. I want to find as much as I can before it gets dark." "I'll come and help you," Fireheart offered. Bluestar had told him to do something useful, and not even Tigerclaw could find fault if he went to go collect herbs with a medicine cat. "Great!" Cinderpaw meowed happily. Side by side, they headed across the clearing towards the gorse tunnel. Fireheart had to slow his pace to match Cinderpaw's, but if she was aware of it, she didn't seem to mind. Just before they reached the tunnel, Fireheart heard the shrill voices of kits. He turned and stared at the branches of a fallen tree, close to the Elder's den. A group of kits had surrounded Broken Tail, who had been given a nest among the branches. Ever since Bluestar had offered shelter to Broken Tail, he had lived alone in his den, with warriors to guard him. Not many cats passed that way, and the kits had no reason to be anywhere near him. "Rogue! Traitor!" That was Cloud Kit's voice, raised in a jeering meow. Fireheart watched in alarm as the white kit darted forward and jabbed Broken Tail in the ribs with one paw, and then scrambled back out of range. One of the other kits copied him, squealing, "Can't catch me!" Darkstripe, whose turn it was to guard the blind cat, made no attempt to send the kits away. He sat a fox length away, watching with his paws tucked under him, a gleam of amusement in his eyes. Broken Tail swung his head from side to side in frustration, but with his cloudy, unseeing eyes, he could not retaliate. His dark tabby fur looked dull and patchy, and his broad face was scored with scars, some of them from the clawing that had ruined his eyes. There was no trace of the former arrogant, bloodthirsty leader now. Fireheart exchanged a worried glance with Cinderpaw. Many cats, he knew, thought Broken Tail deserved to suffer. But seeing the former leader so old and helpless, he could not help but feeling a scrap of pity. Anger began to burn inside him as the taunting went on. "Wait for me," he meowed to Cinderpaw, and he hurried over to the edge of the clearing. He saw Cloudkit pounce on the blind Tom's tail, worrying it with needle-sharp teeth. Broken Tail scrabbled away from him on unsteady legs and swiped one paw in his direction. In an instant, Darkstripe jumped to his paws, hissing, "Touch that kit, traitor, and I'll fillet your skin into strips!" Fireheart was too angry to speak. Leaping towards Cloudkit, he grabbed him by the scruff of his neck and swung him around and away from Broken Tail. Cloudkit wailed in protest. "Stop it! That hurts!" Fireheart dropped him roughly into the snow and let out a low growl through bared teeth. "Go home," he ordered to the other kits. "Go home to your mothers! Now!" The kits stared at him, their eyes wide with fear, and then scuttled off to disappear into the nursery.
As for you,
Fireheart hissed to Cloud Kid.
leave the kid alone.
Darkstripe interrupted, padding up the stand beside Cloud Kid.
He's not doing any harm. Keep out of this, Darkstripe,
Growled Fireheart. Darkstripe shouldered past him, almost knocking him over, before stalking back to his prisoner.
Kitty pet.
He sneered over his shoulder.
Fireheart's muscles tensed. He wanted to leap at Darkstripe and force the insult back down his throat. But he stopped himself. This was no time for clan warriors to start fighting each other. Besides, he had to deal with Cloud Kit. Did you hear that?
He demanded, glaring down at the white kit.
Kitty pet?
Yeah, so?
Cloud Kit muttered mutinously.
What's a kitty pet?
Fireheart gulped as he realized that Cloud Kit had not yet learned what his origins meant to the clan. Well, a kitty pet is a cat who lives with 2 legs, he began carefully. Some clan cats don't believe that a cat who's born as a kitty pet will ever make a good warrior. And that includes me. Because, like you, I was born in 2-leg place.
As Fireheart spoke, Cloud Kit's eyes grew wider and wider.
What do you mean? He meowed. I was born here.
Fireheart stared at him.
No, you weren't.
He meowed.
Your mother is my sister, Princess. She lives in a 2-leg nest. She gave you to the clan when you were very young, so that you could be a warrior.
For a few moments, Cloud Kit stood rigid, as if he were a kit made of snow and ice.
Why didn't you tell me?
He demanded.
I'm sorry, Fireheart meowed. I thought you knew. I thought Brindleface would have told you.
Cloud Kit backed away a couple of tail lengths. The shock in his blue eyes was slowly replaced with cold understanding.
So, that's why the other cats hate me. He spat. They think I'll never be any good because I wasn't born in this dump of a forest. It's stupid.
Fireheart struggled to find the right words to reassure him.
He couldn't help remembering how excited Princess had been when she gave her son to the clan, and how he had promised her that Cloud Kit would have a wonderful life ahead of him. Now, he was forcing Cloud Kit to think about his past, and the difficulties he would have before being accepted by the clan. What if the kid began to think that Fireheart and Princess had made the wrong decision? Fireheart sighed. It may be stupid, but that's the way it is. I should know. Listen, he explained patiently. Warriors like Darkstripe think that being a kitty pet is something bad. It just means that we have to work twice as hard to make them see that kitty pet blood is nothing to be ashamed of.
Cloud Kit straightened up. I don't care, he mewed. I'm gonna be the best warrior in the clan, and I'll fight any cat who says I'm not, and I'll be brave enough to kill outlaws like old Broken Tail.
Fireheart was relieved to see Cloud Kit's spirit overcoming his shock of his discovery, but he wasn't sure that the kid really understood the meaning of the warrior code. There's more to being a warrior than killing, he warned Cloud Kit. A true warrior, the best warrior, isn't cruel or mean. He doesn't claw an enemy who can't fight back. Where is the honor in that?
Cloud Kit ducked his head, not meeting Fireheart's eyes.
Fireheart hoped he had said the right thing.
Looking around for Cinderpaw, he saw that she had gone up to Broken Tail and was checking on his tail where Cloud Kit had worried it. There's no damage, she mewed to the blinded Tom. Broken Tail crouched motionless, his ruined eyes fixed on his paws, and did not respond. Reluctantly, Fireheart went over and nudged the old cat to his paws.
Come on, he meowed. Let's get you back to your den.
Broken Tail turned in silence and let Fireheart guide him back to the leaf-lined hollow underneath the dead branches. Darkstripe watched them shuffle past with a contemptuous flick of his tail.
Right, Cinderpaw? Fireheart meowed when Broken Tail was settled. Let's go and find those herbs.
Where are you going?
Cloud Kit piped up, bouncing over to them with all of his energy restored.
Can I come?
When Fireheart hesitated, Cinderpaw mewed, Oh, let him come, Fireheart. He only gets into trouble because he's bored. We could do with some more help. Cloud Kit's eyes gleamed with pleasure, and a loud purr rose from his throat, an enormous sound to come from his small, fluffy body.
Fireheart shrugged. All right, but put one paw wrong and you'll be back in the nursery before you can say mouse. Limping steadily, Cinderpaw led the way along the ravine to the hollow where the apprentices had their training sessions. Already the sun was beginning to go down, casting long blue shadows across the snow. Cloud Kit scampered ahead of them, peering into holes in the rock and stalking imaginary prey. How can you find herbs with snow on the ground? Fireheart asked. Won't everything be frozen? There'll still be berries, Cinderpaw pointed out. Yellowfang told me to look for jupiter. That's good for coughs and belly aches. And broom to make poultices for broken legs and wounds. Oh, and alder bark for toothaches.
Ooh, berries!
Cloudkit skittered sideways towards them.
I'll find lots for you.
He dashed away again in the direction of a clump of bushes growing up the side of the hollow. Cinderpaw flicked her tail in amusement. He's keen, she remarked. Once he's apprenticed, he'll learn quickly. Fireheart made a non-committal noise in his throat. Cloudkit's energy reminded him of Cinderpaw when she was first made an apprentice. Except Cinderpaw would have never taunted a helpless cat like Brokentail. Well, if he's my apprentice, he'd better start listening to me, he muttered. Oh, yes. Cinderpaw gave Fireheart a teasing look. You're really a tough mentor. All of your apprentices will be trembling in their fur. Fireheart met her eyes laughing and felt himself relaxing. As usual, being with Cinderpaw was lifting his spirits. He would stop worrying about Cloudkit and get on with the job they had come to do.
Cinderpaw! Cinderpaw!
Cloudkit called from farther along in the hollow.
There are berries here! Come and look!
Fireheart craned his neck and saw the white kit crouching beneath a small, dark-leafed bush that pushed its way up between two rocks. Bright scarlet berries grew close to the stems.
They look tasty.
Cloudkit mewed as the two cats drew nearer. He stretched his jaws wide to take a hungry mouthful. At the same moment, a gasp came from Cinderpaw. To Fireheart's amazement, she shot forward, propelling herself over the snow as fast as her injured leg would allow. No! Cloudkit! She yelled. She barreled into the kit, bowling him over. Cloudkit shrieked in shock, and the two cats scuffled together on the ground. Fireheart bounded over, anxious that Cloudkit might hurt the injured Cinderpaw. But as he reached them, she pushed the kit off her and sat up panting. Did you touch one? She demanded.
No,
Cloudkit stammered, puzzled.
I was only... Look!
Cinderpaw shoved him around until his nose was a mouse length away from the bush. Fireheart had never heard her sound so fierce. Look, but don't touch. That's you. The berries are so poisonous that they're called death berries. Even one could kill you. Cloudkit's eyes were as round as the moon. Speechless for once, he gazed horrified at Cinderpaw. All right, she mewed more gently, giving his shoulder a couple of comforting licks. It didn't happen this time. But take a good look now, so that you don't make this mistake again. And never, do you hear me? Never eat anything if you don't know what it is.
Yes, Cinderpaw,
Cloudkit promised. Go on looking for berries, then. Cinderpaw nudged the kit to his paws. And call me as soon as you find anything. Cloudkit padded off, glancing back over his shoulders once or twice as he went. Fireheart couldn't remember seeing him so subdued. Old as the kit was, he had received a real shock. It's a good thing you were here, Cinderpaw, he meowed, feeling a pang of guilt that he hadn't known enough to warn Cloudkit. You've learned such a lot from Yellowfang. She's a good teacher, Cinderpaw replied. She shook several clumps of snow off her fur and began padding up the hollow after Cloudkit. Fireheart walked beside her, once more slowing his pace to match hers. This time, Cinderpaw noticed. You know, my leg has healed as much as it ever will, she meowed quietly. I'll be sorry to leave Yellowfang's den, but I can't stay there forever. She turned to look at Fireheart. All the mischief had faded from her eyes, and instead, there was pain and uncertainty in the blue depths. I don't know what I'll do. Fireheart stretched over to her and rubbed his face comfortingly against hers. Bluestar will know. Maybe, Cinderpaw shrugged. But ever since I was a tiny kid, I wanted to be just like Bluestar. She's so noble, and she's given her whole life to her clan. But Fireheart, what can I give now? I don't know, Fireheart admitted. The life of a cat could be followed clearly through the clan, from kid to apprentice to warrior, sometimes to queen, and then retired to an honorable old age among the elders. Fireheart had no idea what happened to a cat who was injured too badly for the warrior life, for the long patrols, the hunting, and fighting that were required of a warrior. Even the queens who cared for the kids in the nursery had all been warriors once, the skills that enabled them to feed and defend their little ones. Cinderpaw was brave and intelligent, and before her accident, she had shown endless energy and commitment to the clan. Surely that couldn't all be thrown away. This is Tigerclaw's fault, Fireheart thought darkly. He laid the trail that led to her accident. You should go to Blue Star, he suggested out loud. Ask her what she thinks.
Perhaps I will, Cinderpaw shrugged.
Cinderpaw!
A shrill mew from Cloudkit interrupted them.
Come and see what I found!
Coming, Cloudkit! Cinderpaw limped away, meowing good-humoredly to Fireheart as she went. Maybe it's the deadly nightshade this time. Fireheart watched her go. He hoped that Blue Star would find a way to give Cinderpaw a worthwhile life within the clan. Cinderpaw was right. Blue Star was a great leader, and not just in battle. She truly cared for all of her cats. Knowing that, Fireheart felt even more confused when he remembered her reaction to Greypole's news. Why had Blue Star acted so strangely when he told her that 2 RiverClan warriors had been ThunderClan's kids? The story had outraged her so much that she was closing her eyes to the danger of Tigerclaw. Fireheart shook his head as he padded slowly after Cinderpaw. There was a deeply buried mystery surrounding these cats, and he was beginning to feel that it might be beyond his power to ever understand it. And the last little tiny bit of this episode is going to be kind of like a vision that Fireheart's having while he's sleeping. Fireheart crouched in the nursery, watching a litter of kits suckling their mother. For a moment, he was filled with excitement to see such tiny creatures who were the future of the clan. Then something stirred in his mind. ThunderClan had no kits as young as these. Where had they come from? He let his gaze travel from the kits to their mother, and saw nothing but a rippling pelt of silver gray. The queen had no face. Fireheart choked back a cry of horror. As he stared, the silvery shape of the queen began to fade, leaving nothing but darkness. The kits squirmed and let out squeals of terror and loss. A bitterly cold wind rose and swept away the warm scents of the nursery. Fireheart leapt to his paws and tried to follow the sound of the helpless kits lost in the wind-blown darkness. "I can't find you!" he wailed. "Where are you?" Then a light appeared, soft and golden. Fireheart could see another cat sitting in front of him with a tiny kit sheltered between her paws. It was Spotted Leaf. Fireheart opened his mouth to speak to her, and she gave him a look of infinite kindness before the image vanished. And Fireheart found himself scrabbling amongst the mossy bedding in the warrior's den. "Do you often make so much racket?" Dustpelt was grumbling. "No cat can get a wink of sleep." Fireheart sat up. Sorry," he mumbled. He couldn't help but glancing towards the center of the den where Tigerclaw slept. The deputy had complained before about the noise that Fireheart made when he was dreaming. To his relief, Tigerclaw wasn't there. Fireheart could see from the light that filtered through the branches that the sun was already above the trees. He gave himself a quick wash, trying to hide from Dustpelt how much the dream had shaken him. Frightened, lonely kits, whose mother faded away. Was it a prophecy? If so, what could it mean? There were no young kits in the clan now. Or was it about the former ThunderClan kits, Mistyfoot and Stonefur? Had their real mother disappeared somehow? Alright, and that concludes the reading for all of the page numbers that inspired episode 7. I'm currently working on filming this episode, and I'm super excited for it to be done in a few weeks. Remember, if you'd like to download any of these images, go check them out on my Etsy shop down below. I'd like to give a quick thank you to my channel members. Your support means so much. And thank you once again for watching this video all the way until the end. I'll see you guys soon with the next one. Bye-bye!